Good morning, guys. It's June 11th, 2021. I'm Kimberly Jolly from Fat Quarter Shop, and I'm here to show you lots of stuff today. So I'm going to kind of give you a summary up front so you can know what you can look forward to in this live stream because we have a ton of stuff. We're going to start off with Sewcialites Block 35, which is our free sew-along. We're going to do a Scrapbook of Quilts debut. We're going to do a Tabletastic trunk show. I'm going to show you all of the stuff I've been working on. We're going to show you some Moda and Riley Blake groups that are going to be coming out in the fall. I'm going to show you Designer Mystery 2020 since it has shipped to everybody and give you a sneak peek of Designer Mystery 2021 that is about to start. I'm going to show you a lot of Patriotic quilts, and I'm going to show you what's new at Fat Quarter Shop. So thank you so much for joining me. And we're going to just jump right into Sewcialites since we have so much. So I have all the Sewcialites in my little binder, and we're on block 35. The best thing about this is we are almost done. This is the second to last block. So if you joined me at the beginning of the series, I showed 6-inch blocks. In the middle of the series, I showed 9-inch blocks. And the last two I am making in the 3-inch size, just so that you can, since we have it free in 3, 6, and 9, you can decide what size works for you. But by showing you all three, I can give you just different tips. So today's block is called Compassion. It's designed by my dear friend Ann Sutton that we all love, and I'm going to show you her block. She made all three of her blocks in porcelain, and of course she put her little vintage buttons, and it looks great. So that is Three Sisters fabric. It looks great. My blocks that I made previously are in Homestead with a white on white SKU that we're going to get back in stock next month. And what I'm going to be doing with these is when we're done in a couple of weeks, I'm going to turn this quilt, the 3-inch, into a quilt, 6-inch into a quilt, and the 9-inch into a quilt. Now we have finishing instructions for all of these. It's going to be completely free, and I'm going to auction these two quilts off. This quilt I will keep just because I need to keep something as a reminder of what we did in the first Sewcialites. These two will be auctioned off with 100% of the proceeds going to Make-A-Wish, and we have raised $77,000 now for Make-A-Wish, so that is so amazing. So thank you to everyone for that. This block is the easiest. It's obviously basically a version of a 9-patch, and it is great that it's easy because next week's is not as easy. So I just want to thank everyone for sewing along with me and joining me in this journey. So I'm going to move these aside. And today I'm just going to use these two fabrics. I've just got a Bella Solid Color 200. And I have a Figs and Shirtings fabric. And this is just some layer cake squares. So what I'm going to do is show you how to cut the 3-inch size. And when we're making the first step, which is the half square triangle, if you are making the 3-inch block, I would use H100 triangle paper. If you're doing the 6-inch block, I would do H200 triangle paper. And if you're doing the 9-inch block, I would do H300 paper. And our H100 actually comes in two versions. You can buy PC100, which is this one, and it will just be a long strip of single squares. And this is, we made this so that it would fit with jelly rolls. So we've got that version. We also have the original version, which is 4 squares wide. So whatever works best for you, I'm going to just use this because it's easier. And you can see we just need 1 square. So there's a couple things you can do here. When you're working with triangle paper, you can do 2 things. The first thing you can do is just cut this exactly on the line and assume that this line is straight. Or you can do this Now it's wasteful, but when you trim it out, you can see all 4 of your lines, and because of that, you will have a very accurate half square triangle. So that's not what I always do. I just thought I would show you that today, since sometimes I do that. So I have my fabrics right sides together, and I'll just cut off a little corner here, put a little pin. And if you want to make the half square triangles the traditional way, that's how we wrote it. And I just always use triangle paper at home. I have ever since I started. So I just on the videos like to show you what I do at home, but we don't require you to buy anything because we write it this way. The other thing is for B and D, our background needs 4 squares, but our print only needs 3. But to save time, I'm gonna cut 4 of each and just have 1 extra. And then my extra 1.5 inch square I'll put in my scrap bin. So since we need 4 1.5 inch squares, if I cut a 3 inch square, I can get 4 out of that. So I will get my ruler, that's the 3 inch. And this is a directional print, so I will make sure that my ruler is somewhat straight instead of doing this. Now you could do that, but I'm not, because I don't want to mess with the bias. So I'll line it up as straight as I can, and I'll have a lot left over. Now you see I just kind of veered off, but if you rotate it, now usually I would use a rotating mat, but I didn't think about it. And I usually cut 2 sides at once. So this is a 3 inch square. I'm gonna actually use my rotating mat. So since I need 4 1.5 inch squares, I'm gonna put my 1.5 inch ruler here, line up here and here, cut. And since it moved, I'll cut these each separately. Sometimes it'll stay together, but since I did it that way, it probably wouldn't. So now I have all the squares I need. Now for the print, I only need 3. So I'm gonna take this one away, and I can save that and put it in my scrap bucket that I have at home. And I have everything cut. And I'm gonna go ahead and start laying this out on my design board, so that when I have my half square triangles done, we can put it on the board. And you're gonna see that this print is directional right here. So we might change the placement of that in a little bit, but we're gonna just see how that plays out when we finish these 2. So from here, on the dashed lines, we're gonna stitch with a really small stitch length, like a 1.5, and we're just gonna stitch on that line and that line. I am using Aurifil thread, color 2000, and a small stitch length. And it is really important to stitch as close to that dotted line as you can, or dashed line, dotted, whatever. And one thing I want to show you here is I stitched past the line here and here and a little bit past the line. I don't start right here. That way when you rip off your paper, you're not going to rip off any stitches because you've got some extra security. From here, I am going to use my rotating mat, and here I'll use a smaller square. I'll probably use my 2.5 inch square. I use the square rulers quite a bit. And here I'm going to line up the right side and the top, and I'm going to cut. And that is a way to get it exact. Now you can see I'm right on that line. So you can either cheat with your triangle paper and cut a little bit extra, or just do it the way I usually do it. I just thought of that and thought I might want to show you that. That's how I used to do it. But now and from right here, you can see I've got a little bit of extra white showing, which that's going to make it too big. So I'm going to just trim it a little bit more, and that looks better. And I love playing with small fabrics. That's one of the things I love about quilting is you can, some of the quilts that I show you that I sew at home are big, some are small, and I try to base what I'm going to do based on the feel of the design and the fabric and the print. From here, I like to, this is not a must, but I like to fold my paper back, and then when you pull it, it's just going to come off a little bit easier. And I'm going to iron these. And on this one, for this series, we're pressing everything open. Now, if you're not going to use this in the setting that we have, you could just press to one side. It's up to you. But I will say when you're working with 3-inch and 6-inch blocks, you will have a better result if you press open, because your block has an easier time lying flat. So what I like to do is let that sit, and then I'm going to cut these little thingy-majiggies off. I think they're called dog ears, but I just cut those off before I press open. And I will show you one thing. Okay, so if you're cutting this, say you cut like this, and you don't get all of this off, this is going to add bulk to your block that you don't think is going to matter, but it is. So then I'm going to clip that. So make sure when you're clipping off all your seams that you do get the whole thing, or it's just going to mess up your 1/4 inch seam. From here, I'm going to press these open. And then press that one open, and you notice that I left that other block right under my iron, and you can put this little clapper on it, and then come back to your design board, and then we'll see. Okay, so this, now you see these go this way. These are horizontal and these are vertical, so all I have to do is do this. So now everything looks the same. You could change this block by doing this. You could also have this one go a different direction, and then that looks crazy. But there's a lot of different things you can do with this block. You could also, if you wanted to, you could make it a darker block, and that kind of gives you a bow tie, like a little Sweetwater taffy candy in the center. Or you could do this. So there's so many things you can do, and that makes it look kind of like a circle, but not really. So I'll go back to the original. Let me go back to the original. But there's a lot you can do with it. Always feel free to change a design, make it your own, make it look, you know, if you're going for something where you want more dark rather than light, you can change it. Okay, so it looks correct. Everybody let me know if it's correct. What I will do here is I like to chain piece. So I'm going to chain piece down here, stop, and chain piece down here. And when I say chain piece, I just mean that I leave a little bit of stitch between and I do not cut it apart. And then as I do this, I'm going to answer some of the questions. Katie says, when this ends, it's like finishing a really good book that you never wanted to end. Oh, thank you. We will have another one in 2022. And we kind of picked the fabric. Well, we did pick the fabric, and it's going to be amazing. Would you recommend that we start our binding? Yes. This has been the best sewing time. I've learned so much. My techniques have improved. Thank you, Kimberly, for all your time. Well, thank you for watching. I'm honored that all of you watch. It's just amazing that y'all even think what I do is interesting. So from here, I kind of keep this right next to my sewing machine, and I'm just going to stitch down here. Now, before I stitch, I will change my foot away from the 1/4 inch, from the open toe foot. Oops, I just pulled a bunch of thread on accident. Let me cut that off. And then I'm just going to use a 1/4 inch foot. I like to use a foot with a guide on the side. That's my preference. Some people don't like that. And sometimes I'll just tighten it with my fingers. Sometimes I'll tighten it with a screwdriver. It just kind of depends. So I'll just feed this through. Sometimes if you're working, oops. Okay, this sewing machine is not my friend lately. It keeps unthreading. Some people prefer to not pin when they're doing small blocks just because it's smaller. So do whatever works for you. I do pin, even though it's small, I will pin. And here my stitch length is too short, so I'm gonna change to like a 1.5. And I try to not sew over the pins. And right before my needle hits my pin, I slide it out. And from here, I am going to just finger press these open, and we'll press all of this at the end. And I will just use this little magnet, put these right sides together now, and just keep going. Nadine is asking, am I going to do Susan Aki's Sampler Spree Quilt Along? Yes, I am. And I can bring and show the fabrics next week that I'm going to be using. Are you making a quilt with your 3-inch box or 3-inch blocks or pin cushions? Okay, so I made some pin cushions, and that's what I'm going to make with them. And I showed them 2 weeks ago. Can you get the same accurate cutting with the triangle paper if you don't starch? Yes. Could you do what Lori does, make a block and put the corners on after the block is together? Yes, you definitely can. You can do whatever works for you. And if you did that, you would just cut a 1.5 inch square. Actually, no. Let me see. You would cut a 1.5 inch square, draw a line, and then add it. That's the size you would cut. Oops. Good morning from San Antonio. Could you give us tips on how to use the larger triangles on a roll and how to pin so the paper doesn't shift? Yes, we'll add that to the list. And later in the summer when I have less content, I will do that. So from here, just kind of make sure everything's going the right direction, and we're gonna iron. And again, this is block 35, Compassion, designed by Sutton, part of our Sewcialites program that's completely free, because we do like to show you a lot of content that's free. So what I'm gonna do here is keep this out of the way, flatten that, I'm just gonna press to one side to start. And then go to the next batch. Make sure it's nice and flat. There's nothing wrinkled below me or below it. Is that just batting you put binding around? I have no idea. When I bind, I have some binding videos that you can watch, and I think that will help you. So just go on Fat Quarter Shop and look at our binding playlist, and that will probably give you a better answer. Now I'm gonna press them open. Are there different layouts for the different size blocks? No, we're offering one layout, but if you join Kimberly Stitch Squad on Facebook, some people have done different layouts, and you can lay out your blocks however you like, but we're just giving you one. We're giving you 36 free blocks and one setting. Can someone remind me what pins Kimberly uses? Well, I'm gonna show you some new pins today that I'm gonna switch to. But what I have been using is Clover 2508. Later in the show, I'm going to show you some new pins that I think I'm going to start using this weekend. And Bonnie is saying her favorite block was a tulip, so that's great. And the top question about smoke and rust, I'm going to answer in a little bit. Just keep the iron nice and flat. Now from here, we're gonna pin, stitch, and then pin and stitch. So what I like to do, no matter what kind of block it is, I like to always pin on the left and the right, because that kind of just gets it started, gets it stabilized. And I'm gonna cut the little threads that were between. You don't have to, but if you're gonna press open, you do have to. So from here, let me move the iron out of the way so I don't burn myself. So from here, I'm just gonna make sure this matches up. So you can see my seams match, and I'm gonna put a pin right in there and straight. Do I have an update for the May Sew Sampler? Will we receive May and June this month? So we send newsletters. I would refer to those. Not everything has arrived for the May or the June. So they will ship separately, and they will ship the second the items arrive. So from here, we're just gonna stitch and then just pull the pins out. I feel like my stitch length is a little long, so I'm gonna adjust it down. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. And it looks like everything matched up. Now, if you're sewing and this seam didn't match up, it really doesn't matter because it's all white. So it's not gonna really matter. Someone is asking from Montgomery, Alabama, is it okay to use starched and unstarched fabrics together? If you're not gonna ever wash the quilt, it's fine. But if you're gonna wash it, those will shrink at different rates because the starched fabric will have already pre-shrunk from the starch, and your unstarched will shrink. So you will have a different pieces within the quilt that shrink differently. And then Bonnie's favorite block was the tulip. Mine too, that's really pretty. Sewcialites was my first quilt along, and I was self-taught on the skills I had. Now I have lots of experience on cutting and choosing fabric. Everything has helped me, and I love my hobby. Well, thank you for watching. And that looks nice. So we're gonna do a press and then an all over trim. Just wondering, when you sew with the Jolly Bars, do you use the peaks or valleys? You would use the peak of the fabric. So again, set the seam, press to one side. Crafting a Plan Life is asking about Lori Holt gingham. I think it's gonna be September. We can put that on the list to follow up with next week, and we'll ask Riley Blake for a further update, but I believe it's going to be September. Good morning. I can't believe Sewcialites is almost over. I have enjoyed watching every Friday. You guys are amazing. Thank you. And we will keep doing content even when Sewcialites is over. Is there going to be a new Sewcialites? It will, but it will be in 2022. I've challenged myself to sew the 3-inch blocks. I'm pleasantly surprised. Yay! And Kathy doesn't want the sew along to end. Oh, I think it's gonna be great when it ends, so at least we can put our blocks together and feel that accomplishment after such a long time of working on it. Any update on Shine On Block of the Month? Yes, it will be shipping sometime next week. It might be the end of next week. First timer for Alive, you are awesome. Oh, thank you. So from here, it's a little crookedy right there. You can kind of see. It's not exactly, like you could put it on my little Kimberly cut mat, and it's, when you put it on the lines, look over here, it dips. So it's not exactly straight. So what I will do, this is a 3.5-inch block. There's two things you can do. You can either put this Creative Grids 3.5-inch square and trim around, but I don't do that. That's what I used to do, and then I messed up a couple of blocks. What I like to do is go side by side, and I'll just use a ruler slightly bigger than the block. Normally I would use the 4.5, but I have that saved for later in the live stream. And so after I do the first, when I rotate, I'm gonna line up the top and the side now, so that it will give me perpendicular lines. And my goal here is not to trim the block down. My goal rather is to just get any of the leftover strands of thread. And my block, if you look at it, it's 3 3/8. It's not 3.5, so it's 1/8 of an inch too small. It will be totally fine. In the end, I do want to show you this one. Oh, I'm going to move the sewing machine real quick, but okay. So if you look at this one that I did at home came out exactly 3.5. This one that I did on camera is 3 3/8. I did the same exact technique, but I'm obviously more accurate at home, in my surroundings, and I don't know how I got that so exact. So don't worry. I see so many people worry about their blocks not being exactly 3.5 or 6.5 or 9.5. It doesn't matter. It's all gonna work out in the end. And to be honest, I don't ever measure when I'm done. The only reason I did it here is just to kind of answer that question that I keep seeing, because I don't want you to feel bad if your block is not exactly 3.5, because it doesn't have to be. It will work itself out, and I will give you some tips when we do our finishing video on how to pin and how to make it. So for example, if we were sewing these two together, I will give you tips on how to make the long and the small, like the bigger one and the smaller one fit together. And I'm going to answer some more questions. Will you be getting any Seams So Easy guides in the future? Yes, they are going to be September, October, because they're being made right now. Any update on Lori Holt's Granny Chic bundle? September. What does peak and valley mean? I can show you. Okay, so we're going to pretend this is open. I don't want to open it. Right here, when the manufacturer makes this, they use a very small, like a jagged edge, I guess. It's a cutter. It's a metal cutter. Now, if they cut this perfectly straight, which is what they used to do a long time ago, your fabric would ravel and it would look horrible. Trust me, you don't want that. So, they use a very small line. So when you measure this, You want to use all the way to the peak, which is the outside of the triangle, not the valley, which is the inside of the triangle. And it will work because you just use the outside edge as your piece. What did I cover my ironing board with? Basically just some white fabric. Good morning from Puerto Rico. Good morning. Thank you so much for sharing the beauty of piecing. Thank you. We will miss you. I'm not going anywhere. I will still be here every Friday. I'm not going anywhere. Good morning from Oregon. Do you have a date on the Seams So Easy? Yes, September, October. Will there be a Liberty box? Yes, there will. And it we're going to call it a Patriotic box because the items might not arrive before July 4th, but we will still have it. Will you get more of the Springbrook? I wish I could. It's discontinued. Have you started the American Gatherings? Well, I'm going to go over that soon. I'm going to move to a Scrapbook of Quilts where we talk about this brand new book. So we own It's So Emma, which is named after my daughter. And we publish books. And that's probably my favorite part of the business. So I want to show you the cover and how it looks. The paper is awesome. And this is a book by Joanna Figueroa of Fig Tree Quilts and Carrie Nelson. She works at Moda now, but she did have a company called Miss Rosie's Quilt Company. And if you want to see every quilt in this book, if you look at our video on the Fat Quarter Shop YouTube, January 22nd, 2021, you will find every quilt. And I'm going to flip through so you can see the beauty of it and show you a couple of highlights. One of the best things about the book is Joanna and Carrie talk about color, what vintage means to them, neutrals, figuring out what you like. There's a ton of information in this book that will help you, especially if you're a beginner. And each of the sections is by color. So the very first block is the vintage spool. So they take the vintage spool block and they do different versions of it. So we've got Joanna's version and then Carrie's version. And so each block that they were featuring has different versions. It also has a sewing machine cover, some pillows. There is going to be a pillow sew along. All the information will be released by today or tomorrow. You can find that information on the Jolly Jabber blog, on Carrie Nelson's Instagram, or on Joanna Figueroa's blog or Instagram or Facebook. The second block is the 9-patch and button block. And then you have Carrie's version and Joanna's version. Now, their versions are not the same. Even though they look the same, they're not going to be the same. There's a different layout to them. There's lots of pillows, pin cushions. I actually showed pin cushions that I made with these exact instructions a couple of weeks ago. And I used my 3-inch blocks from Sewcialites that I just showed you to make some, and they're already back home. So this section is Oregon Trail. And on this one, Joanna is really good at making, she likes to do where you just make the templates and you just cut the fabric according to the template. I am more of a person who needs a template set. So we made these selfishly for me because this will help me make this block. But you don't have to buy this template set because in the book we give you a template and it's right here. So you can trace it. You don't have to buy anything extra. This was more of a selfish product so that I could be more accurate because I'm much more accurate with this rather than a book template. So this book is chock full of quilts and there's going to be a fun pillow sew along. And I am so happy that we were able to publish this book. It was a ton of fun. And it's a beautiful book. I just want you to see up close all of the detail that Joanna and Carrie put into it. Hours and hours of sewing. And thank you to Sarah Price who put all this together, and all of our proofers. We do put in the book, it will tell you who made the quilt, who designed it, who sewed it, who quilted it. So if you are part of that, thank you also. And there's also a credit in the beginning to lots of people who helped make this book happen. I love this quilt. And you know, like in a couple of years, maybe we'll do a neighborhood sew along. But you can see that this book is amazing. So I just wanted to show that to you. Since we've already shown you the quilts, I did want to show you the book, the template set, and a couple of other things. I have something super exciting to announce. We were able to get access finally to these little house pins. For years, I have had customers ask over and over and over for that. Can I have some of my regular pins? And then I'm going to show a demo. But we have been trying to get these pins forever, and we finally figured out how to get them. They're made overseas, and you get, there's 5 different colors of the head. So there's like red, green, white, blue, green. And these, the reason we got them is in the book, Carrie and Joanna both have a section where they list their favorite pins. Well, these are both of their favorite pins. Now they did put a second favorite, but I'm going to move to these pins and I'm going to show you why. They come and you can store them in here so that if you go to a retreat or something, and I didn't put them in here very good because I didn't have very much time, but I'm going to pull one pin out and I'm going to show you. So the biggest thing about any pin that you use, I don't care the cost, I don't care anything. The biggest thing is I prefer a pin that is super thin. If you have a really thick diameter pin, when you put it in, you're going to have all kinds of big holes here, and you don't see a hole there now because this pin is thin. Now, I have these pins, this right here, same diameter, but look how much longer these are. So I'm going to try the little house, which is on the left, and see if I like them better than these, because everyone, like even Ann Sutton, these are Ann Sutton's favorite. There's so many of the Moda designers' favorite pins, and we now have access to them. So I'm super excited that we have something different. So I'm going to try these out this weekend, but they're super thin. If you ever want to know if your pin is too thick, when you pull your pin out, if you see a bunch of holes, then you know that your pin is too thick. And I do feel like if it's too thick, for example, say it's super thick. I could maybe bring some next week that are super thick. If you put that in and it's too thick, when you're going over it, it's just gonna distort your fabric because it might shift your fabric too much because it's too thick. So I'm super excited about this. This is amazing, amazing. And then there's a couple of other things that we also did. Joanna wanted a cutting mat, and she wanted something super small. She wanted her specific color, and she wanted it to match the book. So this is the size she came up with, and I am so excited. I've been using this actually for months. It's called the Vintage Strawberry Mini Cutting Mat. It's double-sided, and it is so cute. So one side is her peach and one side is green. It's very thick, and I've been using it for months. So super excited that we were able to do that along with the pins. And then there's two other things that we also did. One of the biggest questions that we get if we have a project, so when you're a new quilter especially, is say you're a very new quilter and you have very little experience and you want to make this quilt. Well, this is a scrappy book, so it's hard if you aren't a collector of quilts and have like a ton and ton of fabric where you can just pull from your scrap. it's going to be hard to put these together. So we asked Joanna to put together some of the colors she used in this book. So this is a bundle called Figs and Shirtings Scrapbook of Quilts Starter. So this is a starter bundle. This is not going to give you enough color to make it 100% scrappy like this, but it will get close. And then we also had her put together a background bundle so that there are 2 bundles to kind of get you started. But if you want to just use one background, we made this separate so you wouldn't have to buy this if you only want prints. Now there is going to be one other bundle that is put together by Carrie. We will show you in live stream when we make it. It will be available in July. All of the fabrics have not arrived yet. So now I'm going to answer questions and go over super chats. And thank you to everyone for watching. Our first super chat is from Carmen Maldonado. Thank you so much. And then Valeria said, hello everyone, Kimberly, I missed you. Yay, I missed you guys too. And then Judy said, for June and all of the FQS great people. Thank you. And then Valeria Bauer said, you are amazing. Thank you. And we have some new members, and they are Marianne Lucas, Selena Smith, and Selena says, thank you for making me a better quilter, Kimberly. And then Deb says, agree with Selena. Thank you so much for making me a better sewer. I always miss your live streams. Well, thank you. I miss you guys too. And then we do have some new members we'll go over. There are Ruffless and Tina Wolf, and we'll talk more about what they get. The next thing I want to move, well, I want to answer questions real quick, and then I'll move to the next thing. Can you make a sampler quilt from this book? So we're not doing a sampler design where we mix and match the blocks, but you could if you designed it. This is more of a scrappy book rather than a sampler. I bend pins if they're too thin. What gauge are they? Yes, I can tell you. I don't know where I put them. Hold on. I think they're under this. Can you hand me that? Thanks. It says right here. So it says 34 milliliter is the length. I don't know the diameter, but I can tell you that the ones that I use, which is I think C508. Let me look real quick. They don't bend too much. Yeah, 2508 clover. Mine don't bend. Now, if my needle runs over that pin, it will bend, and I just throw it away. Are you going to carry the new On a Roll book? Yes, and it is already online on our What's New page. Is the case magnetic? No. Yay, Little House Pins and Scrapbook of Quilts. I'm happy. Yay. When is Designer Mystery shipping? It will be in the next 2 weeks. And I am going to show you a tease from that later. You are asked often, and I apologize, how do I order a whole bolt and get the discount? Order 15 yards and just put in the notes section, please apply discount, or you can just call us at 1-866-826-2069, and they can do that for you on the phone. Ingrid said, when sewing, why don't you put the large pieces at the bottom so it will be eased in? I'll talk more about that when I do my finishing, but I make it ease in either way, kind of. I do it a little bit different than what some people do, and that's okay. Are the fig tree mats on the website? Yes. Just type strawberry cutting mat. What project will you be doing from the scrapbook quilt? That information is coming out today. There will be 6 pillows in the sew along, and I'm going to make all 6 pillows. There will be a different theme that goes with each block, and you can just check our social media for that. Cheryl Johnson is asking, how was CrimeCon? I will do that at the very, very end. I will talk about my vacation and CrimeCon so that I don't annoy the people who don't care about that. Kathy says, Kimberly, your triangle papers have been really great for helping me get my seams exact. Will you be making more in different sizes? Yes. How do you fix a 9-inch block, but the strip are supposed to match but are off by 1/8 of an inch or more? If you mean like a jelly roll strip, I would just cut it down. I think it kind of depends on where you're at on the block. So will month 3 color guide of Lori's Sew by Row be posted on the blog soon? We can do that today. We'll put that on our list to get done today, if it's not already there. And then my next part is going to be the Tabletastic 2 trunk show. So Doug Lico has a brand new book. He has Tabletastic 1, but he also just came out with Tabletastic 2. We have a coupon code that you can use for 20% off your book. And not only that, if you're one of the first to buy after this, you can get a signed copy. Now, if you're buying the book next week, we might be out of the signed copies. So the signed copies is a first come, first serve while supplies last. And so you'll see he signed it right here. Now, I wanted to, before I show you all of the table runners in the book, kind of talk about the book. And one of the great things about Doug is he publishes his own books. So very similar to It's So Emma, he has more control over his books. He prints them at the same place that we print our books. And because we have control, we can add more content to our books. And that's one thing that I'm very proud of with our It's So Emma books. And just make sure when you purchase the book, you use the coupon code Tabletastic2, just like the bottom. And we're going to leave that code up the whole time so that y'all can remember it. But one thing that I really am proud of Doug for is he puts, when you're buying a book, sometimes you buy a book and you want to use one quilt out of there. Well, this has 20 table runners, and not only are there 20 table runners, they're all in multiple colorways. So there is something in this book for you because he has a ton of content in here. He didn't just slap a book together and make 12 tiny table runners in one color. He made 20 table runners in at least 2 colors, so you have 40 options in this book. I'm going to show you all of the table runners. I'm going to start with Regent Street, and you're going to see this taped over. This is so you can't take the cutting, but we want to show you both sides. The first one I'm going to show you is called Regent Street, and I'm going to move the table. Well, I think we can take the code off now because it's kind of in the way. But what I'm going to do on this is I'm going to show you the table runner from left to right instead of holding it up so that you can see the detail of the quilting and the piecing. And we're going to play a little game, and the game is going to be called Shout Out the Name of the Collection so that everyone else in the chat knows what collection this is, because these are all Moda fabrics, every one of these. But I am not able to remember all of them. Some of them are new, some of them are old. So y'all are going to be in charge of figuring that out. So this one is Regent Street. This is obviously Holly Taylor fabric. It is layer cake friendly. And here's the back. And in the book, he does put who quilted it, who sewed it, and he designed all of them. So I'm gonna let you find all of that out in the book because there's so much content I would never finish. So this is the first one in the first colorway. The second colorway is totally different. And this is why I love Doug, because maybe you like red, maybe you like blue. Same pattern, totally different look. Same quilt, Regent Street table runner. And I'm going to go from left to right slowly. This is a mix of prints and batiks. So you can see a print fabric, a batik fabric. And that is beautiful quilting. And this one finishes at 16 by 48. The next table runner in the book is called Willowbrook. This one is actually, you can use scraps. Actually, all of these table runners, because they're small, could use scraps. This one is written for either jelly rolls or layer cakes. And this one, I'm going to play the game with you. This is Basic Gray Christmas. And he does have some tips in the book on creating this, I believe. If not, I know there's plenty of tutorials out there, including Jaybird Quilts has a great tutorial on how to do binding with those degrees, different degrees, and it's on her blog and it's free. And here's the back on this one. The next one I'm going to show you right there. Look at that. Look at that. You got a Christmas table runner. You have more of a summer manly table runner. This one finishes at 17 by 51. Again, it's called Willowbrook. And if I'm going too fast or too slow, you can let me know. And this is a Sweetwater collection. It's called Branded. So I win that one. That's one I know. And that's the backing. The next one in the book is called Churchill. And so this one is square, and that's also what I love is you've got some rectangular, some square, some Christmas, some fall. This one's 20 inches square, and this one is a stunner. I love it. So this one's a square. That's the front. And this is the back. And that's the difference. So this one looks totally different than the other one. And this one has a fun backing. So sometimes when you're making a project and you have leftovers from the front, you can put them on the back. Instead of going to Fat Quarter Shop and buying a whole new piece, you can use what you have, and that's really, really fun. You could also, if you wanted to, you could display this just like it is and put a big bowl on it, and nobody's gonna know that it doesn't have, wasn't meant. Just put a big bowl on it, and you can use it for two different things. I'm gonna answer questions real quick, just so that I can make sure I don't go too fast, and I'm gonna take a little drink because I'm thirsty. The beauty of Table Runner is that a majority can become a quilt. Nice runners. And what is the discount code? It's right on the screen. I really love the ruler that Doug designed. Yes, let me show it to you here. He has a mini simple folded corners and a regular folded corners. Is the Winterlude book going to come available again? We will order it today. So if you're watching, Doug, just send me some books. Virginia says, is it possible to make all of your books with the coil or spiral binding? I find it easier to use. So that's an easy question to ask. It's not as easy to do. So first, the way Lori Holt's books are, she 100% developed that. So I will only do that cover and that coil for her. I'm not going to publish another author's books and do that for them because that's not their idea. And I do really believe in staying original, being loyal. That is something that so many people don't understand, but you have got to be loyal. Now, every author gets a decision what they want. They get to pick their paper, their binding, everything. So each designer gets to pick. So it is up to them to decide what look they are going for. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. This one is called Southfields, and we think, we're going to play this game. Where do you think he came up with the name? So we think they're all either UK or London related. I didn't have a chance to text him to ask. This one's 15 by 45. And this one is also Basic Gray Christmas. So this is a really fun one. I find this design to be very original. It's just beautiful because on a table you get a really big effect of that star. And sometimes when you have a table runner, especially in my house, I put a lot of things on top of my table runners. If I had this table runner made, this is probably my favorite from the book, I would not put a table runner because the design just says it all. There's not a repeat of the design. And then this is the back. Again, this one is called South Fields. This one is layer cake friendly. So just showing you the difference. This one is using a mix of Primitive Gatherings collections. And if you look at this, this would look great with blue stars, red stars, blue stars. Another thing you could do is you could do red, white, blue, blue, white, red, etc., etc. There's a lot you can do with the stars and the placement of the colors and the placement of this. You could also do, just like a flag has red and white stripes, you could do all of this red and white, and you could do all of the stars blue. So there's so much you can do with this if you just kind of sit and think. So when you're looking at any book, whether it's published by Doug or, you know, Lisa Bonjean, Joanna Figueroa, Lori Holt, anybody, you don't have to make it just like them. You can do whatever works for you. So that's the back. So let's see, this next one is called Colchester, and this one is yardage. It's not pre-cut friendly, so this one is more yardage. And this is a fig tree collection, and one of the things that I think, if you're ever looking for a really nice cream background, Three Sisters always has a nice assortment, and this is a Three Sister quilt. So I win that one. Of course, I don't know the name of it, so I don't really win. I only get 1 point instead of 2, right? You could, and you can see how he mixed the red and the cream, but you could have done all of these red. That's the front. There is some really beautiful quilting in this book, by the way. Some of these feathers are amazing. This one, again, is 15 by 50. It's called Colchester, and, oh, actually, I'm incorrect. It is layer cake friendly. So I messed it up. Okay, this one I love. This is just Kimberly's house all over. This is what my house looks like. So it's amazing. It is super scrappy, and you can see on this one, he really played with the backgrounds and really let the backgrounds speak, so that it's just, because you know, sometimes we make quilts and it's just like one background and then bonus. So this is Bonnie and Camille. And the quilting on this is amazing. So Gina Tell, take note. I want to do this quilting. I don't know what it is, but I love it. So this is my second favorite. Okay, the next one is called The Abbey, and this one is square, and this one is just yardage. So this one is a Holly Taylor fabric, 24 inches square. So this one's a little bit bigger. The other one that I showed you that was square was 20 inches. This one's 24 inches, and this is amazing. I love this design because, have you ever seen a table runner with flying geese that just kind of float and aren't just, anybody can design something that's just flying geese. Flying geese, these float, and that star is beautiful. So this is a Holly Taylor fabric. The name of the book for the table runners is Tabletastic 2. It has 20 table runners, and not only that, there's a Tabletastic 1 that you can also get, and we'll make sure we have those in stock. And this one is very fall. I believe this might be Joe Morton or a very old Blackbird Designs. I was not really sure, but I love it. So this is a great fall runner. Tabletastic 2, the designer is Doug Lico. And this white right here, I'm covering up the cutting. This one is really fun. It's called Notting Hill. This is a little bit more modern. It is layer cake friendly. And what I love about this is I feel like he took a really modern design and put traditional fabrics with it, put one background and let all the fabrics speak. They look like birds flying. And you'll notice that they look like the little beak. They look like a little beak from the next block. It looks, you know, to me that looks like a bird. I'm not sure that's what he was going for, but this is the back. And that is the cute code that is good until June 16th, 2021, 20% off at Fat Quarter Shop. And this one is Kansas Troubles Quilters Fabrics. And when you're looking at any quilt, one thing that's really important to look at is the placement of not only your print fabric, the placement of your background fabric, and the placement and color of your binding. Because this quilt would look great with either a dark binding or a light binding, either one. But it will give it a different effect. So that's Kansas Troubles fabric. And that's the back. And that one is layer cake friendly. The next one is called Harlington. It is layer cake friendly. And again, he has shown two colors. This one, I believe, is a Deb Strain fabric. And this is one of her buffalo plaids. And there's little Christmas trucks. Now, when you're doing a quilt like this, these are very small blocks. So I would plan to do something here that has a small print. If you chop up a really large floral into something like this, it's gonna lose the effect. So you can see he really selected a group with really small prints. And that is beautiful, and that would look great on a table, just like that. So you can always, when you have a table runner, you can always use both sides. Again, Harlington, layer cake friendly, 16 by 49. And this one, I believe, is Urban Chicks fabric. And it has a really fun backing that I'm excited to show you. This one is layer cake friendly. And what's fun about this one is they made some, or Doug made some large half square triangles and put it on the back to have a fun backing. The next one is called Park Royal. It is a charm pack friendly quilt that is 27 inches square. Now, any of these that are really small and square would be great baby quilts, especially for a newborn. And this is the same collection I just showed you. That's the Deb Strain Christmas. And again, he used a small print because these are small blocks. So I feel like this one, that print might be a little big because your eye, so if you look at that quilt, where does your eye go? Right there. Because all of the rest are small prints. And then this is the back. Same back he used in the other and same binding as he used in the other. And the next one that's the same is modern. And this one is, the fabric designer is Lindsay McCrae. This fabric is definitely one of the 12119 colors. I'm not sure if it's color 52 or 53, but it is a cross weave. And it is a little bit, if you touch it, it's a different texture than your cotton. And again, this is designed by Doug Lico, Tabletastic 2. All of this is Moda Fabrics. And that's a great way if you have a fat quarter, just put, this is probably 4 fat quarters put together for your backing. The next one is called Belmont. That reminds me of a horse for some reason. Oh, Belmont Steaks, that's what I'm thinking of. This one is just using yardage, not pre-cut friendly. And this one is very amazing. I believe this is basic gray fabric. And beautiful. It is 20 by 53, and the next version is batiks. And on the back, a great use of batiks. So just a scrappy backing. And a great thing to do when you are storing your quilts, I'll just show you this real quick, because this is how I store my quilts at home. They go in buckets, and I roll them up. Actually, my kids do it. I roll them up, put them in buckets, and I would have rolled this up too, because this will cause a crease, but if you roll them up, you'll never have a crease in your quilts. So your small quilts, that's how I roll them up and keep creases out of them. Because I know when I bring them to work, they don't want to see creases, right? They don't want to have to iron it. So this is St. James. This one's 14 by 40. And this one's great because you can either use charm packs, mini charms, and in fact, speaking of that, you could use Jolly Bar, which will be the same thing. And this is the same group. So he's used this one 3 times. This is the Deb's Train Christmas, and I really like this one. This would make a great baby quilt if you just did like 9 of these blocks. Same backing. So that's a way to, you buy some yardage, you put it between several projects. You don't have to, don't feel like if you buy the fabric, you have to use it once. Use it over and over. And this one again is 14 by 40. And this is basic gray fabric. Another thing to make you think when you are doing a quilt. What if you, okay, this is 14 by 40. What if your table was 15 inches wide instead of 40? You could easily add to the sashing to make it fit your table. So if you're looking at a book and it has a size, but it's not exact, make it your own. What can you do different? If you need it smaller, make the sashing smaller. Lots of things to think about. The next one is called Buckingham, and it is fat 8. It uses 4 fat 8s plus a little bit of yardage. It is a 24-inch square quilt, and it's very beautiful. If you had a fabric that you were trying to fussy cut, this is a great place that you could do that. And I'm going to look something up on this one because, let's see, okay, the way he pieced these, he pieced this with triangles instead of a square and a square. So this is not a square and a square and a square and a square put together. It's more of a long rectangular unit that you trim down to 4.5 inches wide. But this is a great place you could put a focal print. And then this is really pretty backing. And I think the binding is the same fabric maybe. And the next color version of that is right here. It is definitely a fall collection. It's either Joe Morton. I think it's Joe Morton. I'm gonna just throw that guess out there and hope I'm right. And let's see, that one again uses 4 fat 8s. The next one is called Cotswold, and it uses 10-inch squares plus a background, and we have this one that will be a kit. So I loved this one so much when I was purchasing this collection that we are offering a quilt kit of this exact one. Now, if you buy the kit, the book does not come in it, so you would buy the book separately. And this is the Christmas Morning collection by Layla Boutique. And this is the background from her collection, and the fabric is delayed and will be coming in July. And I will say this is one of my favorite prints from all of 2021. I love it. I've used it in several things. Again, 16 by 48, if I didn't say already. And this one, oh my gosh, I mean, doesn't this just make you happy? This is Fig Tree. I love it. This is Sabella Solid. I love this. I love both of these. These are, oh my gosh, maybe this is my favorite. I love this. Like, this is totally going in my house. I totally need to go home this weekend and make this table runner because I love it. It's beautiful. And the back on that one is a grunge. The next one is called Yorkshire or Yorkshire, either one, because I didn't know which way to say it, so y'all can let me know. This is a 10-inch square, friendly, sorry, this is layer cake friendly. Again, Christmas Morning by Layla Boutique, same background. So on something like this, where you want to make this one and the other one, I'll give you a little hint. If you wanted to make 2 table runners from the book and say both are layer cake friendly, you buy 1 fat quarter bundle, you'll get the same thing. And you can just save money that way. And these are great Christmas gifts. That's another thing to think about. Great Christmas gifts. And the back on this one's super fun. These are cut up fat quarters. The next one is Tottenham, I think. Oh wait, no, this one. Sorry, I missed one. Oh, okay, Tottenham. Tottenham, Tottenham, I don't know. Sutton. So this is layer cake friendly. This one's very big. This one's 33 inches square. So if you're somebody who has like a big farmhouse table or a circular table, this would be great on that, and it would make an awesome baby quilt. And this quilt has a lot of movement because you can see the hashtags kind of flow. And this is the back. This one is 33 inches square. And of course, say this says layer cake friendly, but you have a fat quarter bundle. Well, you have more than enough. Kevin would love this one. Kevin is obsessed with Halloween. And when I say obsessed, I'm not even joking. And look at that quilting. Oh, okay, I have one that I missed called Yorkshire because I was just talking way too fast. This is the second version of that where I showed the Christmas Morning. I just got distracted because I was looking at that Christmas Morning fabric so much. And this is the grunge that I just showed you on another table runner. So don't feel like you have to use a different backing on every single thing. The next one is called Norwood. It's 14 by 38 and it is charm pack friendly. And this is the same fabric I just showed you in another one. So he might have used a bigger pre-cut and used it for, and this is leftover layer cakes on the back, you can tell from the size. So if this uses 20 medium and dark 5-inch squares, but if you used a layer cake, you could cut that down for the front and then use this for the back. And then the second version of Norwood is more of a woodsy Holly Taylor look. And I believe it's Holly Taylor. And this is a grunge. So don't ever be when you're working with something, don't feel like you have to have a white background. This is gold, tan, it's beautiful. The next one is called Hampstead. there's that word ham again. They must have something with ham over in the UK. This one is either layer cake or charm pack friendly. This is a Christmas Holly Taylor collection, and this one looks a little bit more advanced. So I would say the great thing about this book is he has traditional, he has modern, he has easy, he has hard, he has different edges, different sizes, rectangle, square. And then the next one has the same grunge. And this is one of my all-time favorite collections, All Hallows Eve by Fig Tree. In fact, I'm going to use this collection with the Scrapbook of Quilts and one of my pillows because I have saved a lot of that because I love it. I don't love Halloween like Kevin does, so I don't like the house to look too goofy. So we have a little section in the house that we're like, okay, there's Kevin and the kids' goofy section, and then my section is more of this. And his office too. He can do whatever he wants in his office. I mean, he can technically do whatever he wants anyway. Stratford. This is 32 by 28. So it's kind of circular, but not all the way. It's 10 inches square. Now on this one, I'm going to talk about the template in a second. It is on the screen. It is CGR60DIA. So if you want to make this and you don't want to use the template from the book that is provided for free, another option is to use CGR60DIA, which is a Krista Moser ruler. And this is the same fabric, Christmas morning, but it looks totally modern. Now look at that, that's amazing. So again, if you're decorating, you could put a bowl right here, and no matter when somebody's walking around your house, from here they're going to see one thing, from the other side, so you get different looks from where you walk in your house. And then the next one's pretty modern. It's totally different. And I would say this, I mean, it's hard because it's bias, but the beauty of this is you could probably do this. I could probably do this quilt in an hour, maybe 2 hours, because there's not very many pieces. So it's hard because you are working on the bias, but you get this beautiful thing with not really that many hours. And the template is in the book. This is Manchester. It is layer cake friendly. This one's a little bit smaller at 12 by 34. Holly Taylor fabric. And then the other one is fun and reminds me of Crayola, like a Crayola box. And this is Ruby Star Society fabric. So this is the spark or speckled, or a combination of the two. And look at that quilting. It's amazing. And you can always put table runners on top of like for example, if you have, one thing that you can think about is if you have like a diaper changing station and you know you change your baby's diaper on it, but you want to keep that piece of furniture later, take that off and put a little small table runner on it. You can still use it as furniture. Nobody will know because I did that. That's how I know. This is Eden Park, 18 by 45, layer cake friendly, and I love the simplicity of this. This is Holly Taylor Christmas fabric. And that same backing that we've seen before. The next version of this is wonderful. This is American Gatherings, and I'm going to show you something totally different from this collection in a little bit. And this is a way to show you that collection has a lot of backgrounds, but it also has a lot of red, white, and blue. Well, guess what? This is what you can do with the backgrounds. And this is a 12119, which is a crossweave fabric. And this one's a little bit lighter than the other one. And this is Lisa Bonjean fabric. So ta-da, that is 40 table runners. So this is the name of the book. It's called Tabletastic 2, and I'm going to answer any of your questions that you have now. The layer cake friendly quilt was the first Moda collection shown. I don't know the answer to that. So the first one that was layer cake friendly was Regent Street. Tottenham is how we say it, but I like how you drop letters in Louisville. I think that, I don't know. Yeah. It comes from an old English word ham for a town or homestead, or else an enclosure or otherwise isolated area of land. Okay, awesome. I'm glad I know that. The octagon one you showed, is it possible to increase the size? Probably not. That would be really hard to do. That's not an easy fix. Can you mix Kaffe and Tula fabrics? Would it look right? I'm not a modern person, but I've seen several people do it, and I think it would work, because you just have to be careful with the color, because Tula pink is all very big and bold, and so is Kaffe, so that would match. But you just have to be careful because Kaffe has a lot of black, so you just want to make sure that the colors match. Is there a book that shows you how to use Lori Holt's Sew Simple Shapes? A book maybe that shows how to mix and match. So she does a lot of that free, and all of that is on her blog and on Riley Blake's blog, and she might have a book in the future. Anything with Sew Simple Shapes is applique, and Riley Blake handles that portion of it. I publish all of her pieced quilts. What was the layer cake with wildflowers? I don't know. So we're gonna hope somebody in the chat knows. What you drinking? Start hot chocolate, and I have an iced tea right over there. Today's gonna be quite long, so I need to be able to keep it going. Yorkshire is how it's pronounced down south anyway. I like how Doug went from traditional to modern contemporary with the same pattern. Yes, he puts a lot of time into his books, and I always want to support that. That would be a cute baby blanket with the blue, green, and pink. Is that fabric flowers for Freya? It might be the subsequent line. I'm not exactly sure. Kimberly, you're breaking my bank. I bought both books and some other items. Oh, well, I'm not done. The live stream's not done yet, but I'm not trying to break your bank. I'm trying to really show you how you can get one book and get a lot of bang. If you want to do Christmas, here you go. This has got 20 things. All your gifts for Christmas. You don't have to buy 2 books. If I remember correctly, Southfields is a tube station south of the River Thames. I don't know how to say that. Are there any round? So there was the one that is more octagon, but not round. Some of the table runners are jelly roll friendly, but not many. Most are layer cake or charm pack. Let me look at the list again. Let's see. One you can use jelly roll. Lori says, yes, my Be Happy book just became available for my Sew Simple Shapes called Be Happy. And you can find it at fatquartershop.com, and it's Be Happy with a B-E-E. Advice for beginner quilter with some sewing experience. Take our beginning quilt course that is on our playlist at Fat Quarter Shop. Which project will you be doing from Scrapbook of Quilts? I will be making 6 pillows. Scott from Wisconsin, love your channel. How was your vacation? It was great. I'm going to show pictures at the very end. Oh, my mom. Hi, Mom. Can I get the pin cushions from this book at your house tonight? Oh, can I make the pin cushions from the... Yeah, you can come over and make them. And I'll have to bring some batting from work, though. But yes. Okay, so I'm going to move to the next part. And actually, what I'm going to do is take a little break. And I will be right back. I'm going to show you lots of charity quilts so you can see all of the things that we're trying to do to raise money for Make-A-Wish, and I will be right back. So now I'm going to move into all of the different things that I work on at home. And what I like to bring to you guys every Friday is a mix of looks and a mix of different things. Some of the things I show you will be paid patterns. Some of them will be free patterns. It's just kind of a mix. So I'm going to show you what released this week. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it and refer you to where you can learn more about it. So Lisa Bonjean of Primitive Gatherings is introducing a brand new sew-along called American Quilters Stitch-Along. She released 3 videos on her channel this week. Her channel is called Lisa Bonjean, and the first video is an introduction and her mission statement, and she is raising money for Hogs for Heroes, which is a Wisconsin veteran organization. Fat Quarter Shop, we donated $750 for that because we're sewing along, so we want to donate also. She has a second video on how to cut and make the stripes of the blocks. So I'm going to show you block 1. Block 1 is called the shoe fly block. So her second video is how to make these stripes. Because you're going to make these every week, there are 20 blocks, so you're going to make this 20 times. So she's going to show you that once, and then she has a block 1 tutorial, and this is the block 1. And I'm going to kind of talk about some different things that I did. So to start, you'll need a fat quarter bundle. So get your fat quarter bundle at Fat Quarter Shop. You're going to need the whole thing. I made it and I used the whole thing, so that's great. But you do have plenty to make this because I've made all 20 blocks. Now, if you want to put the 20 free blocks into a setting, it's on page 37 of the American Gatherings book. She's going to use this setting. So it's the same block, except with yours, you're going to have different stars in all 20. So you will need the book for the setting, and she is going to make this quilt 4 times. And you're going to see when she does it, she's going to have one that's dark, one that's light with anchors, and she's going to have one with grunge. She's going to have lots of options. So if your house doesn't have a ton of blue, you can, but I want to refer you to her because she is the designer and I'm just having fun with it. So this is my block. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what I did with my block. And the tips that I'm going to give you today are a little bit different than the tips that Lisa gave you, just because she pieces different than I do, and that's okay. So she shows you how to make this block using triangle paper and how to make the block. Now I'm going to show you a couple things that I did. So I downloaded the pattern. There is a download for each star that will be coming out once a week. And so right now, this is the first pattern. And this pattern also came out. And this is like what I was talking about, all your stripes. Now, one thing I wanted to show you that I did do different than Lisa, and that's okay, I just want to show you. You don't have to do everything exactly the same. Okay, I did not use these fat quarters. I felt like these stripes were just too busy to put in the quilt. So I didn't use these, but I'm going to save them and they would be great for binding on a future project. So even though I didn't use them, I will still put them to good use, but I just didn't want to put these stripes in here. Now she did, and that's great. So you just decide what you want to do because you should always just do whatever works for you. Now I want to show you the second thing. So this is my block, and I'm going to come back to that and show you something, but I'm trying to give you a couple of tips here. So I'm going to show you. Just each week I'll bring you something different, and I will try to make it, I will watch all of her videos and just try to make sure mine is different so that when you watch her, you learn her way. When you watch me, you learn my way, and you can decide what works for you. So the first thing is I used Aurifil 2600 when I pieced my quilt. You definitely don't want to use white thread, but this I tried a couple of different Aurifil colors and came up with 2600. I felt like that worked the best. When you are stitching, I'm gonna do it on my block. When you're stitching, when you do this, you should not see your thread. If you see your thread color when you pull, you've got the wrong color. So that's one tip. So I'm using 2600. I would just suggest a light gray. I used H100. Now I used this triangle paper, but this is also PC100. Same product, packaged differently, both by Triangles on a Roll. So this is how I made mine. Same as I showed you in the Sewcialites to go here, and I got perfect results. Now the one thing, my big tip here is, can I have my 6.5 inch ruler please, and a friction pin. So my tip here, and I'm going to show you my tip for this also. When you look at this block, somehow it magically is exactly 10.25 by 12.5. But there is definitely a trick to what I did. And so I'm going to show you what I did. First, I'm going to show you how I got this, the exact size of block. On every block, it should measure 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. On all of your blocks, she will have you put a different border size on. Sometimes it's the same, sometimes it's different. So when Lisa stitches, she just cuts the exact size and her block comes out exact. But mine don't. So what I did, I added bigger borders. So about 1/2 inch bigger. So you can see, if you compare my two blocks, I cut it bigger and then we cut it down. Now to cut it down, there's a couple of ways you can do it. With this pattern, it is much harder than if it was a 6.5 inch square, because if it was a 6.5 inch square, you just put a ruler on top of it and cut. 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, there is not a ruler that size. So there's two things you can do. You can fold your block into quarters. Now these are just creases. This is going to come right out. And I'm going to draw the line so you can see it. But in real life, I would not draw the line. But these are where I can feel my creases. Now, like I said, in real life, I wouldn't, but I want y'all to be able to see it. And we want this to be 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. So if you take 5 3/4 and divide that by 2, it's 2 7/8. And so what I'm going to do is take a ruler and I'm going to do 6.5 since it's just a little bit bigger. And just slightly bigger. So this is 2 7/8 right there. So I'm going to trim it. I'm going to do 2 sides and then I'm going to come back to the other 2 sides. So I'm going to flip the block, find my 5 3/4 and trim. So I did this on every block and I had plenty of fabric left over. Now the same thing here, I'm going to look at this line. 2 7/8 this way, 2 7/8 this way. So put the top of my ruler on the top of that cut line so it's straight. Find my 2 7/8, cut, turn it, and then the same thing. 5 3/4, 5 3/4, and your block is now perfect. So that is what I would do with every star block. Now I'm not going to demo that every week, but that's my tip for this week for the block. Use H100, add your borders. I cut them, it looks like 1/2 inch bigger. Now you could go 1/4 inch bigger, but I like to just cut whatever. So I'll just cut and whatever comes out. Now, my tip for this is going to be complicated. So I'm going to have a little sip of hot chocolate real quick before I tell you my tip. What I did here, I cut this wider. So I did these a little bit wider, which is what she also did in her video. But when I attached this section, instead of attaching it the exact size, I left about 1/2 inch bigger. I did the same thing here, except I left about 1/2 inch here and 1/2 inch here. Came back, put the 12.5 inch ruler on it. It needs to be 12.5 inches wide. So cut these two sides, but you'll have a little bit hanging off here and a little bit hanging off here, but that's going to give you that clean edge. And if you want to be a little bit OCD, you make this last strip wider. That's a real pain in the butt, but did I do it? Sure did. Then it needs to be 10.25 inches wide. So it's going to come out exact because this is longer. Now that's going to take some extra work and some real sitting down thinking that you might not want to have to worry about, because these are supposed to be about 3/4 inches finished. So that should be about 1 inch right there. That's 1 1/8 inches. And that's how I made it fit, is made that bigger. That is a ton of extra work, but I did it. So I don't know if I 100% recommend doing that. That's called OCD to the max. But I did want to show, yes, you do have waste from that, but I made use of my waste. Now, when I was done, I had some pieces left over. And I'm going to tell you a little story about this. Okay, I made the blocks and I made this one the wrong size. Like, I have no idea how, but I did it totally wrong. But I'm not going to lose that, and I'm not going to get rid of that. Let's see what size it is. So it's 5 1/4. No. It's 5 inches finished, but it was supposed to be much smaller. So I decided, let me keep that. And then I took some of the chopped edges of this off and put it here. So this is a stripe that's going to go across my backing. So I took the width of the quilt, added 10 inches, and that's the width. Now I will add fabric here and here later. So these are just leftover fabrics. This was left over from my stripes. This is a label that I purchased from Sweetwater. I put it on, I ironed it on like a muslin and just sewed it in. And these are just left. This is my mistake block, because you don't want to throw that away. So even if you waste, you can always use it. So sometimes I show you guys things and I think y'all think I'm crazy, but you just have to make it your own. And that's what I like to do. And I like that this is already done. Okay, so now I'm going to answer questions on that before I move to the next one. I need the tip to make the strip straight and not wonky. Okay, I am going to find my fabric that I just set aside that's stripes, and I'm going to show you what I would do. Thank you. So we're going to, this is a fat quarter. So my tip would be number 1, starch. And there is a starch video on the Fat Quarter Shop channel. There's a starch video on Lisa Bonjean's channel. Lisa Bonjean taught me that method and came up with that method and changed how I do my starch. So first, this is starched. Oh, the pattern's messing up. Okay, sorry. Let me just do this then. It won't mess up as much. Is that better?
Yeah.
So with this, I would iron this. Make it 100% flat. Now, I would cut a straight edge and just cut your strips. Now, if you're joining your strips and they're not coming out exact, you can cut them bigger and trim them down. Or you can alternate. When you cut strips, for example, you could attach, you would take, the salvage would be on one side, and this salvage would be on the other side. So anytime you are trying to get strips to not be wavy, alternating where your salvage is going to help you, because I don't know why, but I just know it works. And Carrie from Miss Rosie's Quilt Company, who is part of Scrapbook of Quilts, she's the one that taught me that. So that's a tip. Either make them wider and cut them down, or alternate. And I have no idea how to tell you why that works. No idea. I just know that ever since I started doing that, it helps. Sorry if I missed, but did you finish the mystery quilt? Yes, I'm going to show it in a little bit. What is the advantage of ordering Be Happy book over using the blog post? The Be Happy book is just a summary of what is in the blog post for people who don't want to have to print that out on her blog. And Riley Blake publishes that. How can I sign up for the Patriotic box? I would sign up for our newsletter, which is fatquartershop.com, and just check it daily. When making the stripes, do you need to put them in any specific order or random? I did random. Everything is random. Now what I did is with this fabric right here on the top camera, I tried to keep these two fabrics exactly the same as Lisa's. One of the blocks I wasn't able to because I made that mistake and didn't have enough left over. So there might be one or two blocks where I changed it, but it was because of mistakes. But this I did random. So all of my blocks are different. And I did try to make sure that this fabric's not at the top at every one. This is not at the top of every one. So a fat quarter starched is enough fabric. Yes, you need the fat quarter bundle of American Gatherings. Thames is pronounced Tim's. Tim's. Oh, I was totally wrong. Can we get the snapshots patterns? Yes, they're completely free on our blog. So I will move to the next thing. Or actually, I will save my super chats. So Valeria Bauer, thank you so much. You sent another super chat. You already sent one. Yeah, Piggy says thank you. So this, I just wanted to remind you that we are in the middle of our Serendipity Charity QAL. This is row 6. We've raised $77,500. If you want to join me, you can look at Monday's video, which is June 7th, 2021. It's labeled Serendipity QAL Release 6. And I give you tips on putting the row together. And another thing is, if you check out another video that we did earlier in the series, which is row 2, I show you how to make perfect flying geese with our flying geese paper. So you can check that out. That's from this Monday. And this collection is Springbrook by Corey Yoder, and this background is 48626-94, which is thatched. So I got that done. Super excited. The next thing I worked on is Lori Holt's Red Sampler Quilt Along. So we're going to pop up her week 8 first, which was last week, and since I wasn't here, I didn't show you. This is her 3 blocks from week 8. The top left is Winter Star from Farm Girl Vintage in the 12-inch size. The top right is Corn and Tomatoes from Farm Girl Vintage in the 6-inch size, and the bottom is 6-inch Heart from the Mitten block from Vintage Christmas. So those are her blocks, and then I'm going to show you mine. So this is the 12-inch Winter Star from Farm Girl Vintage, which is this book. This is the 2nd or 3rd book that we published for her. The next block, Corn and Tomatoes, is from the same book. And then this is the heart block. And we're gonna just kind of pop up now her individual blocks, and you can kind of see her individual blocks and then her fabrics, and then we're gonna come back and you can just see mine. And so mine look a little bit different. I am gonna be honest and say that I'm running out of red fabric. So I have not been able to copy her as much in terms of fabric because I'm running out, but I'm determined to not buy anything. And then the next one's Corn and Tomatoes. And so you can see that she has like a dark, and then that middle is a definite contrast. So I did try to do that here, but I don't have that red that she has. But I did try to do the same effect. And then the heart block, this one I really want to show you from the book so you can see how creative she is. So I'm going to pull this up in the book real quick. So what she did here, she purposely designed this to finish 6.5 inches so that you could also use that as a 6.5 inch block. So even though it's a mitten, that's where we got the instructions. And now I'm going to show you all of her blocks from week 9, which is this week. The first one in the top left is called Glisten. It's from Vintage Christmas, and all of this information is on her blog. You do have to have the books. The next block in the top right is Maple Leaf from Farm Girl Vintage 2 in 6-inch size, and the bottom one is Kitchen Window from Farm Girl Vintage. So you can look at her fabrics, and now I'm going to show you mine. Now I'm going to tell you a little secret. I had made these flying geese in a bigger size in a previous week, and I made them with the fabric in the wrong spot, so I had red here instead of white. So I saved them and then used them this week. So that's how I came up with this, because I already had them made. Now she did a really cool thing that I copied, which is the, let me think of what this is called, chicken wire. So she's got chicken wire here, and then plaid here. And so I did copy that. I did a different fabric in my Maple Leaf because I didn't have the same one she had. And then I did this one, and I have something really fun to show you with that one. So we're gonna now flip back to her originals and then flip through each one and kind of compare to mine, because that way you can see that you can get a beautiful block. So that one, you can see I copied the chicken wire, but I ran out of that. I ran out of those other two fabrics, so this is what I have. Is, you know, similar but different. And then the next block she has is the Kitchen Window. And this one was fun because it was so easy. And so sometimes when you have an easy block, it really makes you happy because you have more time. And I'm going to show you a trick on that block. And then you'll go back and see mine. I did the same thing. I tried to do the same thing with the plaid. And the last block is her Maple Leaf, and I was out of that fabric. So I would have made my block exactly the same, but instead I used this heart fabric because I ran out. But I am going to show you a little tutorial today that's going to kind of tell you how I get my blocks so perfect. So if you're looking at the book, I added here and cut down. So we're going to show you from, we're going to show you a little pop-up of what I did. Well, that is my stack of design boards. So what I did is I did week 8 all at once and week 9 all at once, which means I've cut all my fabrics. Now you see those flying geese are already made because those were the ones that I had made a previous week and then saved for this week because I made them incorrectly. So that's kind of how I organize, is just put it all 3 on design boards, do 3 blocks all at once. And then the next picture is going to be how I did this block. So you see that big border on the outside? I just cut bigger strips than I needed to from the instruction book. And then put the appropriate ruler on top, cut it down. When I added the last round, I did the same exact thing. Bigger, cut it down. Now, did I need to do that to get a perfect block? Absolutely not, but I did. So I just thought that would be kind of a tip. And then I do want to show you from this block, a tip that I have is I used H200 to make the half square triangles. And then the flying geese ruler. Oh no, that's a different one, sorry. This one I used this paper from here, this flying geese paper, to make this. And I had already made them a previous because I did it the wrong way. So that's just a tip. To get my blocks accurate, those are the two things that helped me. And I'm gonna now show you one other thing that I will be adding to this, and then next week I'm gonna show you all of the blocks together. But a couple of weeks ago, this was the block that Lori had designed for Sewcialites, and it's 9 inches. So obviously that will not work in this quilt because this quilt is a combination of 6-inch and 12-inch blocks. Well, I'm gonna save it and I'm gonna put this as the label on the back. So I'm somehow going to either add my name at the bottom here or here. I'm gonna somehow work that in. And so now I'm gonna show you one more Lori thing and then I'm gonna take questions. So this I showed you 2 weeks ago. This is the Sew by Row block of the month. We still have a couple of spots left, but not too many. So this is her book that she published with Riley Blake. And she has free videos on Riley Blake's YouTube channel. And I just took my blocks and sewed them together. And this is supposed to have embroidery, but I don't know how to embroider. So I'm gonna go visit Lori in a little bit and I'm gonna take all these rows and have her help me either show me in person how to do it or just let her or her daughter do it for me. So I just wanted to show that also. So now I will answer questions. Will you be offering the red sampler bundle again? Yes, but it will be September. I had to special order a lot of it and it's out of print. Christmas Morning is a Moda collection. It is by Layla Boutique. So now I'm gonna show you something super exciting. Now, this is called a lot of work right here. This is called Kimberly Has Lost Her Mind and Thought She Was going to be so cute and make this really difficult quilt. So I'm going to just kind of talk about it a little bit before I open it all the way up. This was a free mystery quilt called LBQ, Mystery Quilt 2021. LBQ stands for Laundry Basket Quilts. If you would like this free pattern, visit laundrybasketquilts.com/blog. It's a free pattern. The difference is her free pattern has all of these blocks at 4 inches finished. I didn't think that was hard enough, so I thought I should make mine 2-inch finished. So I did, and my quilt comes out to 68 inches. My quilt comes out to 38 inches square. Hers is 68. I'm going to show you 3 different pop-ups that are going to kind of explain my method of putting it together. So usually on that wall, I have all my rulers. And you see those little black dots on the wall? That's because the previous owners of our house had a black wall. And my rulers have chipped and I haven't repainted it. But what I did is I laid out all of my blocks. And then my next photo shows that I chain pieced that entire thing together. After I chain pieced it, the next photo shows I started sewing a couple of rows. So you can see that bottom row is sewn together. I skipped a couple rows. I just kind of started sewing a couple of rows together, and then the last one, I don't know, maybe there's not a last one. I think the last one is just here. Yeah. So that's kind of how I was able to do it, was just taking my time. I'm very happy with it, but it's a lot of work. So this took me about at least 6 hours, and maybe 8. It took a long time. It took me quite a bit. So these two fabrics, now I decided to use the B cross stitch collection because on Adita's blog, she uses a lot of different fabrics, and I didn't think that I was going to have the time to sit and try to figure out fabrics each week. So I went with C745 and C747 Cottage. And then I'll just hold it up so you can see. And I did cut my borders 4.5 inches wide, and I got that from Lori. I wasn't sure what to do. I wasn't sure what color to put on the border, if I should put the cream or the white. Well, the cottage. Well, the cream. I wasn't sure if I should put the cream on the outside or the cottage. So she said cottage, and she said 4.5, and I just always trust her. Now my back, I do want to show you. It's a hot mess. That is not my typical work. My typical work is this lace flat. But I, at the end of this, was like, oh my God, I got to get done. So it's a mess, and I did warn Gina that it's a mess. So she has been warned that she's not going to get my typical perfect quilt. She's going to get this hot mess of a Kimberly came back from vacation and it had to get done mess. But I'm very happy with it. I think it'll look fine once it's quilted. Now, I have a couch in my front room that's this exact color, which is why Lori made the fabric. I mean, of course she made the fabric to match my couch. I know she did. She didn't really, but she's been in my house, so we're going to pretend she did. So I know exactly where this is going to go. So I'm going to give this to Gina. I'm going to use the cottage fabric for the binding that matches. I was thinking about using white, but I asked Lori and she said use cottage, so I'm using cottage. Now for the backing, that is 38 inches square. So I did not want to have to buy 2 pieces and piece them together because I was out of time. You know, I just didn't, and I didn't want to have to do a pieced backing. So I bought a 108-inch wide fabric. It's WB10232-blue. It's also a Lori Holt fabric. So because it's 108-inch wide, I ordered enough to cut a 48.5-inch square. That gives me 5 inches all the way around for Gina when she quilts it. I took some of the leftover cottage fabric from here, added a border. I always just add just a bunch and then trim it down. I folded it under using this hot hammer ruler on all 4 sides. And then I made my stitch length very long, like a 3.0. And I changed my thread away from 2000 to a pure white and stitched this down. And it has my name, and this is just a label from Sweetwater, and I use this little hot hammer ruler all the time. And I think it looks great. I think that, you know, the blue's not exact, but it looks great, and I'm so excited. And I did try to center this. One time I gave Gina a quilt with my label crooked, and she fixed it somehow. But I'm very excited. And this 108 inch is so nice. It's soft. And so the other piece that's left over, I'm saving it, and I'll use that as a back in another quilt. And since we were showing Lori stuff, I'll go ahead and show this. This is last week's RBD block challenge, which stands for Riley Blake Designs. It's called Dizzy Pinwheel by Lauren Brewer. All of these blocks finish at 10 inches. There are 16 completely free blocks from this program that you can find on the Riley Blake Designs blog. So we have 16 done, only 2 left. They're going to give you a free finishing, and I will of course finish it and show it to you. This is the Prim collection by Lori Holt. We did a Instagram post or social media post that tells you all the colors I used. And I did use the Baby Lock Sashiko machine. It's hard to tell because I used a very pale pink for these fancy stitches right here. Sorry, I'm trying to make it where you can see. Sometimes when we zoom in, it gets too... So it's really hard to see, but it's going to look really good when it's done. So this is last week's block called Dizzy Pinwheel, designed by Lauren Brewer, who is a Riley Blake fabric designer. This week's free block is called I Heart Quilting, which of course we all do. It's designed by Kelly Fannin. And you can see that I wanted to, in every block, have all of the colors. I wanted to make sure I had pink, brown, and mint in all of them. And so on this one, I put the brown in the center and added a second color just because I did want to have that. So very excited, and I love this one. To make my half square triangles, I used H250. For this one, to make these two half square triangles, I used H400. And we only have 2 blocks left in the finishing. So that's going to be super exciting, and I can't wait to make that. So now I'm going to answer questions. When you say how long, does that include cutting? Yeah. It includes from the second I get in my sewing room. I watched a lot of Oxygen. Oxygen has great programming on Sunday nights and all day Sundays. So if you need to keep yourself busy with true crime, Oxygen's on Sundays is the best way to go. Did I starch the backing? No. Was I supposed to? Yes. I was completely out of time. I did not starch the backing. The mystery quilt is gorgeous, but why 2.5? I'm doing well to get 4.5-inch squares. Kudos to you. You know, I make a lot of quilts, and I don't really have space for more and more quilts. My house is full of quilts. So the smaller the quilt, the better I can store it and the better I can find it. So I've made so many quilts. I just made it smaller for space. And plus, with those small quilts, I rolled them up and put them in buckets. So it will actually have more chance of being displayed in my house rather than sitting in a cabinet. So it's more of just trying to make it work for my lifestyle, I guess. Kimberly, if you were going to buy one size of design board, what would you get? Okay, that size right there. Nope. Right there. What's that size? 14 inches. Because it's not too big, it's not too small. For cross stitch, I would only use the 7-inch. Would you be able to show us the pattern you're doing for Harry Potter? Yes. Kelly Fannin Quilts. Google Kelly Fannin, KELLIFANIN, and also Google Seriously I Think I Need Stitches. It's completely free. It will pop up, and I am determined to finish that quilt. It will be finished before Christmas. Oh, Teresa says, I found myself watching Bailey Sarian. I so blame Kimberly. I know, she's so funny. I love her. I wish I could be that funny. I wish I could like sing like she sings. Do I need to buy the So Simple shapes, or are all they templates in the book? You have to buy them. They are not templates in the book, but I could be wrong. Lori can answer that because I don't know. I don't applique, so that's why I don't know. You showed in a video different ways of doing flying geese and which you like. Do you know what video that was? No, but I can do a video in the future that's like all the methods. So the next thing, because you know I've been sewing like crazy, is June's A Quilting Life Block of the Month. So every year, Sherry McConnell of A Quilting Life offers a free block of the month. This year she's offering 6-inch and 12-inch, and last year I made it in 6-inch. So this year I'm making it in 12-inch. And the reason why is I just wanted to be different, but I am using the Flea Market collection by Lori Holt, and it has bigger scale prints. So to be able to use that collection, especially this background, I needed to go bigger. So I just considered that when making the decision. So this is completely free. She also has videos on that. And the one thing that I did here is I used H300 triangles on a roll to make these. I made sure to press opposite ways. So I pressed towards my yellow, towards my brown, so they would nest. So right here you see it nests. And instead of using the paper, I used the small flying geese ruler by Eleanor Burns because it made this size and it also made this size. So one ruler gave me these perfect. So I kind of the same thing. Sometimes I use our flying geese paper, sometimes I use a flying geese ruler, whatever's going to be quickest. But because this one ruler made both, it saved time. And then I'm going to just show you in case you haven't seen the previous ones. This is block 1, completely free. And you will see that I'm using a brown accent throughout. This one was pretty tough, February. March. April. This one was easy. I was loving this month because that was super easy. And then May. And on this one I rotated mine so that I had a circle in the center. So mine is rotated slightly different than hers. But I would encourage you to check her out on her YouTube channel and on her blog and her podcast. And I'm going to answer questions, and I still have a lot more. So guys, thank you so much for sticking with me. I know this might get a little long, so I'm not sure what you guys think of that. So I'd love for you to comment and let me know, would you prefer shorter or longer videos? I would love to see a tutorial on how to add Lori rickrack to quilt tops. I think it adds a nice touch. Well, you know what? Lori Holt has a YouTube channel, and I will ask her to add that because she is a pro, and I don't want to attempt something that I know is not going to go well on my end. Because I cheat, and I have Gina Tell add the rickrack for me. How is the dinosaur quilt coming? I haven't worked on it, but it will be done before Christmas because the dinosaur quilt's going to be a Christmas gift, and the Harry Potter's going to be a Christmas gift, and then I'm going to have to come up with 2 more, but I will. Would you demonstrate how to use the hot hammer? Yes, I could actually do it. Well, no, I can do it. I'll add it to next week. How about that? I'll make a label. I'll somehow remember that I'm going to make a label, and I'll bring it and show you how to do it. How is Crime Con? Perfect. Any time for Happy Fathers, any time frame for Happy Days Fat Quarter Bundle. I will add it to next week and get you an answer. I don't know the answer to that. So I'm going to show a couple of fun pictures before I move to the next thing. I'm going to show you my little puppy. He's not really a puppy. No. Do you have Crime Con? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to show Crime Con. So this is me, Nancy Grace, Joseph Scott Morgan. Nancy Grace is awesome. Joseph Scott Morgan has written a wonderful book called Blood Beneath My Feet. Only watch it if you are really into true crime. Great people. Loved meeting them for like the 2nd or 3rd time. Let's see what else I have. That is Justin on the left and Aaron on the right. They are Generation Y podcast, 2nd true crime podcast to come around. They are actually the reason that true crime podcasts are popular because everyone is trying to kind of emulate what they do. The next one, let's see. Oh, that's Nate Eaton. So he is East Idaho News reporter who has been following a very famous case, and he has a really cute daughter. And that is Natalie Holloway. And that's, I'm not going to start crying, so I'm not going to say why. That is Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil was there. A lot of people asked why Dr. Phil was there. He was there because he is a doctor, and he talked about the psychology of evil. He talked about brain chemistry, brain structure, and other things that can come into play. And then I'm going to take another little break, and then I'm going to be right back. So guys, I did want to mention that I did a video for our YouTube members, and that was posted on May 24th, and it has a full collection. It shows every piece of fabric and all of this. These are Moda collections that will be shipping in the fall of 2021. So if you want that detail, why don't you click the join button underneath the video, and you can join and see all of that. I'm gonna kind of pick these up and just kind of show you a little bit of what they are, but all the detail is in that video. This will be the Strawberries and Rhubarb, Joanna Figueroa. That actually is in stock now, so ignore that. That's not supposed to be there. This is going to be Fresh Fig Favorites. What I wanted to point out here, this is going to come in 2 bundles, a background and a print. And these are all reprints of her favorite groups. This is going to be Rose by Jo Morton. This is going to be Marianne's Gift by Betsy Chutchin. This I love. This is Starlight Gatherings by Primitive Gatherings. 3 different blues. This is Sister Bay by 3 Sisters. This is Love Notes by Layla Boutique, and I'll show you something in the it's just in a little bit with this. This is Petal Power by Me and My Sister Designs. Kind of goes back to their original colors. This one is One Fine Day by Bonnie and Camille. This is Celestial by Zen Chic. Timber by Sweetwater. Nocturnal by Gingerbread. There are 2 other collections that we were unable to get pre-cuts from Moda. So on those, you can find all that information on that video from May 24th. If we don't have pre-cuts, I don't have anything to show you. Everything that I just showed you is on that video, and that's for our members only. And I did want to show you this one. This is Cookbook by Lori Holt, and this will be her next collection. These will be 108s. And this will be a sew along. And just a little hint, she knows I don't love chickens, so she made this where we can maybe work with some of her books, buy the same kit, and do something that's very Lori, Kimberly combined. So look forward to that. I also wanted to show you Daydreamer. This is going to be 108-inch wide. This will be a future Tula Pink collection. And there are 3 colorways. So let me know if you have any questions on any of that, but all of the detail is in the other video. And I did get a comment, I wish you would do the Sewcialites on a different day than your Friday morning live. Well, we have heard that, and we are considering doing that for the 2022 release. I'm not sure we're gonna do it though, because every day that I go live, I miss taking my kids somewhere. So it's really hard to do lives. Like, for example, this week I did 4 lives a week. Well, that means that there were 4 days that I didn't take him at a dance. So my family comes first, so it's going to have to be a family decision that's made, and it's going to have to depend on my kid's schedule more than anything. Has anyone done tutorials for Shine On? No. Does the Sashiko not fight with the final quilting pattern? I don't know. I'm going to find out. I got the idea from Bev from Flamingo Toes, so I kind of just went with it, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so now we're going to show something that I haven't shown before, which is super exciting. I want to show 2020 Designer Mystery Block of the Month. Now this has shipped to the club members, so now I can show you the full quilt. Now, if you have not received your full shipment and you don't want to look, just hide. And what we're gonna do, I'm gonna show it on the table and just hold it up. Okay, so here's the quilt. This featured Bloomington by Layla Boutique. We had 12 designers design the blocks. We now have the pattern for sale if you didn't join us. And Mike from My Long Arm quilted this. It's really pretty. And then I'm going to show you the back. So the back, I ran out of fabric because when I was making this, we were sewing from sample fabric. So I didn't have enough. So this is how I made it work. So I sewed in and just made it work with what I had left. So if you missed Designer Mystery, then you can still get the pattern. Now let me tell you a little bit about Designer Mystery. It's something very unique to Fat Quarter Shop. I came up with this years and years ago. This is like our 14th year or something crazy like that. How old is Emma? It's probably like the 13th year. We are about to start Designer Mystery 2021. So it's a mystery, and each month you get a block. You can also buy the finishing kit and backing set separate. It is going to ship in about 2 weeks. We have a couple of spots left. So if you want to get in this next year's program, which I'm going to show you right now, block 1, because that part is not a mystery, then I would sign up because it's going to sell out. It always does every year. So this is block 1. Sarah made this and Gina quilted it. So this is going to be the colorway for this year. And then in 2022, I'll show it to finish, but I did make this and I think you're going to love it. The designer on this one is Layla Boutique. The designer on this one is Joanna Figueroa. And then now I have a display of Patriotic quilts that I would like to show you. We're coming up on July 4th, so I wanted to show some quilts, and I'm going to show a combination of free patterns and paid patterns. So this very first one is called 4th of July Quilt As You Go Mini Quilt. This is a free pattern at Fat Quarter Shop and a free video. Again, it's called 4th of July Quilt As You Go. So that's our first one. The second one that I'm going to show you is a paid pattern. It's designed by Fig Tree. It's called Stars and Stripes Forever. And I'm going to flip it. So Joanna let us borrow her sample, and so you can see how beautiful it is. We think that this was made with Catalina and scraps. It's beautiful. So if you want it, looking for something patriotic, that is a paid pattern by Joanna Figueroa. And we're just trying to give you different options because, you know, Flag Day's coming. July 4th is coming. The next pattern is called Stars and Stripes. It's designed by Thimble Blossom. It is also a paid pattern. This one actually is available both as paper and PDF. So this one will be upside down on the top camera, but it will be right side up when I hold it. And this one is using Vintage Picnic Collection, which is now discontinued. But all of Bonnie and Camille has lots of red, white, and blue that you can mix in. And this is the backing. And I just picked some of my favorite patriotic quilts to show you. The next one is her subsequent design called Stars and Stripes 2. And the pattern actually has 2 patterns in it. It's brand new. It's using her future collection that I just showed you. It's not available yet, but we have it as a paper and a PDF pattern. This is the backing. This one's pretty big, so and I don't really think there's a right or wrong way. Let's see, let's go this way and I will show it to you. So here it is flat. It's not really either way it goes. The flag goes all the different directions. I love the quilting on this. And you can see the flags, they go all the different directions. And I want to show you the quilting up close. You can see it here. I love the shamrock that they've added. This is the first time they've had a shamrock, but you can really see the quilting on the back, and I love this quilting. Okay, the next one is huge. Okay, so let me see that. I'm just gonna show that. Okay, so the next one I found somehow this morning. I've been looking for it. So this one, so the ones I just showed you, those 5, they're on our blog, all the details on the blog. These next ones are my additional ideas for Patriotic. So this one right here, this quilt I made, I'm about to display it in my house. This block is one of my favorite flag blocks. You can find it 2 different ways. You can get it either on her blog, week 21 of Vintage Block Along for free, or you can go to the Lori Holt YouTube channel and watch Sew Your Stash series number 20 to find this. Now, you can find pictures of this. I'm not going to hold this up. This is way too much. Let me see. I'm going to try to hold it up, but it's huge. So it's not, I'm just going to kind of show part of it on the table. This will eventually be in a book and no longer free at some point, so just a heads up. And I do see some of you guys commenting and saying, why are you only showing American stuff? You know what? I'm in America. I'm proud to be an American. I can't do every country. This is free content. So, you know, if you're not American, you can just fast forward, but I'm American, so I have lots of American things in my house, and I'm showing you my stuff. It's my live stream, and I can't do every country. And I'm not gonna just not show America because 2 people complain. I'm not gonna do that. It's not me. So this quilt is beautiful. I'm gonna hang this. I will show a picture on social media, but my plan is, Kevin always helps me, he does like the best job. We're gonna fold this right here, and this is gonna hang off the back of my couch with this kind of at the bottom. So, this is one I wanted to show you because, well, first of all, Lori's my best friend, so of course I'm gonna show you, but one of the reasons I wanted to show you this is, sorry, it's very heavy and very big. But one of the reasons I wanted to show you is the whole quilt is not Americana. So in the spring, I can pull this off my couch and have this showing. In July, I can have this showing. I do plan to decorate my house this weekend. I'll post some pictures in a couple of weeks, but this is a way to show part of the year, and then it can be different later in the year. We have 2 other patterns that are free that we have shown in the past. This one is called Wave Your Flag Table Runner. It is a free pattern and a free video on Fat Quarter Shop's website, and here's the back. The next one is bigger. It's called Stars, Stripes, and Dots. it is also a free pattern and a free video. The fabric is no longer available. But it is beautiful. And this uses basics. So that's what I have to show you today for all of our Americana stuff. What batting do I use? My quilts always look soft. So I prefer to use 80/20 by Quilter's Dream. That's what I use. Is the American Gatherings book different from the Sew Along that is free? So the book has the block in it. It's the same. But if you want to finish your quilt the same way, the finishing instructions are what you need to follow in the book. Or if you don't want to buy something, you can figure out the sizes on your own. But if you want to do it exactly like Lisa, you do need the book. Is the color for the mystery block pink or peach? Peach. Definitely not pink. Do you recommend any triangles on a roll for the mystery stitch along? I use all the sizes of triangles on a roll. I don't know exactly. We do have like a sampler pack that you could start with. Will you be getting the coupe fabric line? Yes, of course. I am going to have everything Lori holds all the time. So now I'm going to do like my little follow-up section where I answer the follow-up questions from previous weeks. We are going to be doing a Q&A members only live stream next Tuesday. If you're a member in the community tab, you can go ahead and start asking your questions. It's going to be more of a casual Q&A where I just sit on the couch and answer questions. If you want to join to be a member, the join button is underneath this video. And if you have any technical questions about that, we can answer you in the chat. Another item that I think a lot of you are going to be super excited about is we now are going to have a cross-stitch newsletter. So if you are a cross-stitcher and you want to sign up, go to our website and search cross-stitch newsletter and it will give it to you. And then that way you will get both our quilting and our cross-stitch. If you're not a cross-stitcher and you're not interested, well, great news. You won't get cross-stitch information going forward, which will make a lot of you happy. So just wanted to give you those two updates. Of course, I'll answer any questions. I did want to do a blast of the past, and that is where we just find an old project that I have done or someone has done and just bring it back. This one's about 6 years old, and Lori's gonna love this one. This was the second book that we published for Lori. It is called Great Granny Squared. And the reason we are doing this one today is she is using the Great Granny Squared as part of her red sampler sew along. There's a lot of stuff in this book that's great. We published this book in 2014. On our blog, we had Lori design this for us. I'm going to show it to you on the table. So you do need the book. But all of the finishing instructions and all of this was designed by Lori are on our blog if you search Great Granny Sew Along. This fabric is called Vintage Happy. It's obviously discontinued because it's from 2014. But it's just an older quilt that I made and just wanted to show you. And the back, I did a regular back. I made a quilt block, turned it underneath, and on this one it looks like I tried to do a blanket stitch around, which I'm not really sure why I did that. And then this is horrible looking. This was before I had a Sweetwater label. I did used to use these labels. I can't even remember where I got them from. But since then, I have progressed and my quilts look much better. So I thought that was fun. Beautiful fabric. And then we also have something that we're doing where we throw it back every week to some of our favorite videos. So that was just an older quilt. Now I'm going to show you an older video. We released it in April 27th of 2020. It's called Summer Swag Quilt Tutorial. It's a jelly roll quilt using the Creative Grids ruler CGR 60. And one of the reasons we brought this back is because it went along with our Patriotic series. And then I'm going to show you a couple new things, and I'm going to save some of what I had for next week. Okay, so I just pick each week a couple of things that I think are great, that are new, that I like. And I wanted to point this out and give a huge thank you to Chris Vine. She emailed me a couple months ago and said, you know, on my bindings, I'm going to open this, I like to just use stripes, plaids, ginghams, that type of thing. And I really wish you had a bundle of 1 yard cuts that I could use for my binding. So we went through and found just an assortment of different designers' stripes, dots, ginghams, and put together a 1 yard bundle. And I just wanted to thank her because it's her idea. And we kind of did an assortment of colors, an assortment of designs. So I just wanted to show that. I wanted to let you know that on the Holiday Essentials collections by Stacy Itsu, the Valentine and Patriotic have arrived in pre-cuts. The yardage has not arrived yet, and the other two holidays, which are Christmas and Halloween, have not arrived yet. But I did want to show these because we're getting so many questions on them. They're just not all arriving at the same time. So I just want to clarify that. And this I love. This is the fabric that we used in the Designer Mystery 2021. So this is the full array. We did not use this part in the Designer Mystery though. So that is the color. And I love this kit. I have thought about doing this as a sew along. I'm not sure I will though, because I'm kind of out of, I don't really know if I have another hour in the day. But I love this design. It's designed by Stacy Itsu using that Holiday Essentials. So it comes with the pattern and all of the fabric. So I just wanted to show this. What I do in this section is just show you what I like. So I hope that you like all of that. And Doug says hi to FQS. So hi, Doug. And Crafting a Plan Live says, are you planning on making triangles on a roll larger than 7.5? No, I think that anything bigger, kind of the paper will get distorted, I think. And I wanted to thank our new member, Elena Vazelka, for joining. And thank you all for watching. I hope you guys have a lovely week. I will see you next week with lots of new stuff. So have a great weekend.